Good morning, Dan and Amy, and this is an interesting case study. This is a case study in the state of higher education. It's a case study as it pertains to the state of higher Catholic education. It's the case of Anthony Esolen at Providence College. Anthony Esolen, who I had the pleasure to have dinner with, earlier this year. He is one of the most important intellects, and in particular Catholic intellects in the Western world, along with Professor Robbie George from Princeton. I would put those two kind of in the same category. He is under fire at Providence College for explaining what diversity means from a Catholic perspective. It's really incredible. He writes in a number of outlets, Crisis, as well as Touchstone, which for those who are of a particular conservative theological disposition, Touchstone magazine is must-reading. He's written a couple of pieces over the last couple of months that have generated controversy on the campus of Providence. Not exactly been backed up by his college president, a Catholic priest named Father Brian Shanley. We see this playing out at DePaul, at Notre Dame, now Providence College. The article in September, "My College Succumbed to the Totalitarian Diversity Cult," penned by Professor Esolen, sparked some student and faculty protestation. It had the president of Providence College saying, "Well, I believe in academic freedom, but I disagree with what Professor Esolen had to say," sort of chastised him. Listen to what he wrote from Crisis, a piece in Crisis last February, to give you an example of what Professor Esolen is talking about when he explains what true diversity is from a Catholic perspective and an intellectually honest perspective. This recounted in a piece of National Review Online about this matter. Professor Esolen wrote, "A youth from Nigeria or Morocco should be welcomed with genuine friendship and openness to what he has experienced of the world beyond our American horizons. I'm grateful for students whom I can ask, how do you say 'Our Father who art in heaven' in Tagalog? And what is it like to live in Lagos? Meanwhile, I have 3 millennia of poetry, art, philosophy, theology, and history to teach, and if you're willing to learn, I'm gladly at your service." Anything there strike you as particularly intolerant?
No, it sounds very tolerant to me.
This is why this is such an interesting case study. In the September piece I referenced earlier, he added to this, explaining Providence College's responsibility as a Catholic school to educate students in true diversity, rather than the political movement du jour, which, of course, is not about diversity. It's actually a push for homogeneity and a demand for orthodoxy, lest you be punished or exiled. And that is kind of where Anthony Esolen finds himself today. And for more on this, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid Providence College English professor, who literally does, I can tell you, just in spending a couple hours, he does have 3 millennia of poetry, art, philosophy, and theology and history to teach, and he has it all committed to memory. I mean, this is one of the most dizzying intellects you will ever encounter. It's truly a pleasure to have Professor Anthony Esolen on the show. Professor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, thanks. It's great to be here. I don't have it all committed to memory.
Well,
Yes, you do.
I'm being liberal in my, yeah. So here is, give us kind of, I give a little bit of the backstory here, but give us kind of the state of affairs at present and what your standing is at Providence College.
Well, I can't be fired. I have tenure, but I've been defamed and vilified in 2 official letters that went out to every single student and every single faculty member. Basically, the letters suggest that I don't welcome people who are different from me, and one of them suggested strongly I'm a racist. And how they got that from those articles, it's hard to fathom, except that this is all political, and when politics becomes a religion, you have a laundry list of things that you have to say yes to, okay, which is maybe 50 times as long as the Nicene Creed. And that means that you have to believe exactly what we believe about diversity, which they never even define. And if you cross us in any of these things,
what about
it's been kind of disgusting.
what about the response? I mean, you've been at Providence for many years now. You have educated many an undergrad and perhaps graduate students, as well as probably faculty members. Are there people rallying to your defense, or are there people just kind of whispering quietly, "Professor, we're with you. This is terrible what they're doing, but we can't say anything"?
Well, a strong core of Catholic faculty in theology, some of them in philosophy, have in history have rallied to the defense because they've been under the gun also for the last 5 or 6 years. They've been hauled before. For instance, campus lawyer for having a conversation about abortion in a pub outside of town. A friend of mine's chemistry professor who's out with students on a conference, and these students said, "Well, we don't understand how anybody could not be pro-choice, as they call it." And he said, "Well, I'm not." And they had a heated discussion, which he thought was perfectly fine, perfectly good. When they came home, he found himself hauled before the lawyer and told, "No, you can't do that. You can't have conversations like that." It's stuff like that that's been going on that is the backstory behind both of the articles. So these people have rallied to my defense, and I've gotten about, oh my gosh, I've probably gotten just emails to me, not counting other kinds of messages, well over 200 in the last couple of weeks. Many of them perfect strangers. Some of them from my old students saying, "Don't let the so-and-sos get you down. Attaboy, keep it up. This is ridiculous," and so on.
Well, how hard has this been for you?
To me.
Yeah, how hard has this been for you personally? I mean, they're saying that you're racist, misogynistic, homophobic, and that you've written religiously chauvinistic statements.
It's disgusting. Now, the students that I have now we have a team taught Western Civilization program section. There was about 100 students, and I think those 100 kids know me better than that. And students in other classes, they know me. But others, what are they supposed to believe? Now, I did have my say in the student newspaper several times if they read it. But the faculty, forget it. I don't care what the faculty think. They can whatever.
So you're not oblivious to what's been happening on college campuses for as long as you've been part of the professorate. Does this come as a surprise to you that you've been targeted now?
It did surprise me because I had been saying for a quarter of a century that I had the best academic job of anybody I knew. I had more freedom than anybody I knew because since we're a Catholic school, we get to talk about the most important things in human life. I mean, you can't put the kibosh on a conversation just because it touches upon the nature of God and man. And it's because of that I could speak, and my secular colleagues also could speak much more freely than we could if we were at this Ivy League school across the city from us, which I call Crayola College, Brown University. I mean, they didn't anyway. They don't have a third or a fifth of the freedom that we have or maybe used to have.
Well, and so what does this say about the state of the Catholic education? Because I mentioned Notre Dame conferring the Latari Medal to Joe Biden, DePaul University prohibiting students from using the hashtag Unborn Lives Matter because it may offend Black Lives Matter student group and so forth. What does it say about where Catholic education is at the higher ed level?
Well, differs from place to place. Notre Dame is still a great deal healthier than DePaul. But in a lot of these places, the dollar has replaced any strong commitment to the faith. So they do what they do because they believe they need to in order to get enrollment up and to justify their ridiculous tuitions. The other places, it's politics. Politics has taken a kind of left-wing politics, a secular politics has taken. Hello?
Yeah,
we're here.
Yeah. Okay, I got a beep on my phone. It's taken the place of the faith, and it's a horrible. When politics is really horrible thing. just horrible.
If you can send a message to Father Shanley or speak to him, what would it be?
I met with him for 2 hours.
Okay.
It was tense and unproductive.
Oh,
The message, the message that I would send is, Father, you haven't been paying enough attention to the fact that the Catholic nature of the college, the Catholic character of the college, has slipped away in the last 10 years. Now it's almost beyond recall. You've got to take some pretty active measures now about it. And those measures are going to make you hated by the secular faculty. Well, you've got to get used to being hated. They don't much care for you anyhow. So if you're going to be hated, you might as well be hated for doing something good.
He is Professor Anthony Esolen, English and Western Civ professor at Providence College. Professor Esolen, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be keeping tabs on your plight there at Providence. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I'm very grateful to you.
thanks. And have a great Thanksgiving. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.